r/Tales from Tech Support, Episode 1. Imaginary Security Breach. A funny one that happened to my colleague. An NBSP. Early in the day, he got a call from a problematic user. She told him that, allegedly, someone outside our company could access files on her computer. She demanded he immediately drops everything he was doing and get on that case, because it was a major security breach. An NBSP. As he comes back, he has that grin, the one that's a mix of confusion and anger, but with a sprinkling of amusement. An NBSP. The user had received an email from a friend with a Pages attachment. We work with Windows, so we don't have a default program to open those, but Adobe Acrobat attempted to do so. After giving an error message because of the file format, Acrobat goes back to its home page where you can see previously opened files for quicker access. An NBSP. Apparently, the user thought that her friend had sent her all the PDF files she ever opened on her PC, including confidential data. This confused the user and led her to call us in a panic. She even sent a couple emails to our boss. An NBSP. Nothing we could tell her would convince her that no, her friend could not, in fact, access those files. She actually realized the stupidity of her own question and hung up. Long time reader, first time post, so this will be short and sweet. I'm a SYS support analyst for a large medical supply company, basically making sure everyone can access what they're supposed to, and this includes a lot of password rests. So this literally just happened about 5 minutes ago. Phone rings. Girl, we can't access our account. It says the username and password don't match, and now it says we're locked out. Me, looks everything up, changes to generic password. Okay, you're all set. Once you log in with generic password, you will be prompted to create a new one. Have a nice day. Girl, thank you. You too. Okay, now everything seems good. My phone rings again. No biggie, new person, right? Nope. Her again. Girl, I just called, and when I'm trying to reset the password, it's telling me the current password is wrong. Me, what are you using for the current password? Girl, the original password. I start to ask a question / tell her to use generic password for the current password, then I realize I'm talking to dead air. Girl hung up when she realized her dumbassery. Thankfully, at this company my run-ins with the jerks are fewer in between than the good-natured people who realize their mistakes. But I just wanted to share this one first because I was hoping you could get as much of a chuckle out of it as I did. I have the 9-digit remote support code, but can't figure out how to get it to you. I have been doing its support for about 17 years now. We all run into some dumb situations from time to time, but I think this is the worst from my career so far. And #XB. Here we start with the original problem of the ticket. And #XB. User. And #XB. And GT. Hi. And GT. And GT. I have problem with attachment, this orange circle with a wheel and GT. And GT. In it has come up on the toolbar and I can't open and only certain and GT. And GT. And #XB. I don't really know what this means, but it's a PDF issue. Should be pretty easy to figure out. I ask her if she tried restarting. She has. And when a good time to troubleshoot is. We schedule for today. She tells me the area she is in has really bad cell reception and she won't be able to talk on the phone. I explain that we shouldn't need to talk on the phone and that the remote support tool we'll be using has a chat function so we can communicate once she lets me into her PC. And #XB. Me. And #XB. And GT. Good morning. Would now be a good time for us to get connected and work on the Adobe issue. And #XB. User. And #XB. And GT. Yes, also I can't get into VMS and the share drive. And #XB. VMS is a program they use. Okay, so one issue has now turned into 3, but shouldn't be too bad. And #XB. Me. And #XB. And GT. Please go to remote support URL and download / run the little program from that site. Send over the NGT 9-digit code when it pops up on the screen, and I should be able to log in. And #XB user and #XB and GT. It will not let me share the code. And #XB me and #XB and GT. I don't understand what that means. It won't let you share the code. And #XB user and #XB and GT. I have a 9-digit code that says share this code with your technician, but it will not let me share it. And #XB me and #XB and GT. Can you type it into the email you are sending me? And #XB user and #XB and GT. I sorry, but nothing will let me in so I can share my computer. Now I have a blank and GT page that will not go away. I think you need to come to me. And #XB. Unfortunately, I can't come to you as you're over an hour away and am stuck behind the desk. I ask if there are any alternate numbers I can call to walk her through this. She tells me no. I suggest restarting her computer and trying again, and I quickly make a guide with screenshots to walk her through how to get and send me the 9-digit code. And #XB. In the guide I send her, there is a screenshot with a remote access code, 891,515,597, as an example. And #XB user and #XB and GT. I got the 9 numbers, but it will not let me do anything with those numbers. It will not let me give you the 9 and GT digit number to my admin. And #XB me and #XB and GT. Type them into the email you are sending me. And #XB user and #XB and GT. 891,515,597. And #XB. She literally sent me the number from the screenshot I put in the guide. And #XB me and #XB and GT. That is the code that I gave you in my instructions to show you how to do it. I need you to download the NGT program on your computer and send me the code that it gives you. And #XB user and #XB and GT. Please show me where to download code. And #XB. I just sent her the instructions a few emails ago. I am starting to get pissy and resend the same instructions in font 20 instead of 12. And #XB user and #XB and GT. I have the code, where do I put it? And #XB me and #XB and GT. Type it out and send it to me, please. And #XB user and #XB and GT. I go to step 3, give this to your admin. Nothing happens. And #XB me and #XB and GT. You said you can see the 9-digit code the program gave you. I need that code. And #XB user and #XB and GT. 820,849,585. And #XB me and #XB and GT. Okay, we are getting closer. It says that code is invalid though. Did you leave the program running on your NGT screen, or did you maybe close it after sending the code? And #XB user and #XB and GT. Yes. And #XB. WTF does yes mean? And #XB me and #XB and GT. Okay, please try it again. Leave the program up and running on your screen after you send me the code. And GT. If you close it, I will not be able to connect. And #XB user finally gives me a code that works. I am able to connect and start working. But she doesn't remember her username and password for her computer that she is logged into currently. To reconnect the network drive, have to do a password reset to complete everything. Total time, hours. Total bill, $450. And #XB. TLDR, User could get 9-digit support code to show up on her screen, but couldn't figure out how to get that code to me despite communicating with me via mail. Network equipment got fried, but user can resolve himself. Lighting storm last week knocks out PCS and network equipment for a few clients. One particular client had their PCS fried via Ethernet. Of course, router and switch die too. So, PCS get replaced, but user states he would rather just go to Staples, local tech store, and buy replacements for the networking gear. User is notorious for buying their own hardware and not letting us do setup, which is why their home grade equipment is open to power surges. I get a call today that only one computer has internet, none of the rest. I get on site. It config the one computer with internet. It has their public IP assigned to it. Me, hey show me your network closet. User, okay, here it is. This is the modem, and here's the new 24-port switch. Me, well, you got a really nice switch, but where's the router? User, it's right here. Points to the switch. Me, that's a switch. User, well, the guy at Staples said modem has one IP address that it assigns to the router. Without the router, his computer just happened to grab the only available IP. So I got to spend an hour setting up their network from scratch. At least they got a nice router now. Are you laughing or crying? Both. New to tech support. Recent college graduate. I always enjoyed some of the silly calls and stories. Things like an older employee's laptop not charging to only discover that for the 5th time in just as many weeks when moving his power strip that the charging cord is plugged into, he plugged the power strip into itself. I was warned repeatedly that the humor would soon fade, since the more you lower your expectations for your end user, the faster the user will race you to the bottom. Today was the day I finally lost some of the humor. We have a new employee here, let's call her Sherry, and she tries so hard to solve her own problems. But she apparently tries just a little harder when she creates them. One of my first interactions with her with something silly. She created a large number of inbox folders to help her stay productive. Then that day, she lost them. After suggesting that she collapsed them by accident and to look for the arrow to expand it, she insisted they simply vanished and there was no arrow. After completing the quarter-mile hike to her office, I asked her to show me what she was doing. And lo and behold, as she was clicking on her inbox, she expanded the inbox, revealing them. With a few small laughs, I left hiking back. She had a lot of these moments, but today took the cake. She called in about how tiny the text appeared in her Outlook. I first walked her through checking the font size of everything over the phone. Then I remember the zoom function in the bottom right, because hey, she probably just held down Control plus mouse wheel and shrunk it. Well, moments after telling her about this, she simply says, well, it was tiny, but now it's at 500% and huge. What do I do now? I had to take a moment to compose myself admittingly, then told her to just set it to 100% for the default view. She went on to say now that the mail preview is properly sized. When she goes to write it, it's terribly tiny too. I knew I had to move some equipment up near her office and just said I'd swing by shortly and show her how to do it in person to make sure she was educated on it to prevent further issues. I really enjoy my job, but my coworkers both said they have their one that just drives them insane. I think I found mine. Application error. Clearly the application team's issue. This just occurred. Standard issue of reading the first line and then complete ignoring everything else. Ticket came in late afternoon yesterday. A user is getting an application blocked when trying to access our web app. Note: this user is a government employee, so this issue is serious. Also, this customer has their own local IT team that does all their desktop, network, etc. support. We just support our applications. The ticket gets marked as low priority as it only affects one user, and we are currently working on some high priority tickets. The next morning we come in and get to work on tickets. This one has been assigned to me, so I open it up and look into it further. The user has kindly provided a screenshot of a pop-up. And GT, account error. And GT, account blocked. And GT, Your security settings are blocking this application from opening. And GT, close, ignore, open security settings. OK, the message clearly states that it is their security settings causing the issue. The ticket also notes that other users in the same office and team can access it fine. I send it back to their local IT team to check the security settings for that user. I carry on working on tickets and get a call later in the day from the account manager. The customer has called up to escalate this ticket as it turns out that 2 users are affected. I search the ticket in our system and find that the IT team had sent it back to us with an GT issue is with an application error. Please fix application. I inform the account manager of the actual issue being with security settings, and since he is on site, he finds one of the users with the issue and asks them to try logging in. When the pop-up shows up, he asks them to press ignore just to see what happens, and what do you know? The application loads. Ticket closed. Facebook plugin disappeared. First of all, I'm not at all in a tech support field. I do website content and social media management for one of the departments at my faculty. It's a job I've just started a few weeks ago, so I'm still getting the hang of things and being extra careful to not screw something up in the weird CMS their website uses. Anyway, today I started my morning with this email from my boss. And GT, subject, Earl of the department's website. And GT, content, Facebook plugin disappeared. Please check and sort this out. I am in low-key panic and high-key confusion. Facebook plugin? What plugin? Does he mean the widget? I was editing something through the CMS the day before, and part of me is very afraid that I'm responsible for this disappearance. But at the same time, part of me is also very sure that there is no way I managed to delete an entire section of the page by accident and without noticing. I mean, the CMS is tacky, but not that tacky. So I take out my phone and nervously open the website. In Opera, lo and behold, the widget is right where it should be. I reply to the email with a screenshot of that, to which I get and GT, apparently this is some issue connected to the add-ons in Firefox. It also displays normally in Chrome and Internet Explorer. Please still look into it if you have time. At this point, my panic is replaced with pity and a tinge of admiration for the poor soul who waited for Explorer to load the website just to see if the widget was there. I decide to further look into it in the evening. I get home, open my laptop, open the website in Firefox, and the widget is still there, to my great surprise. So I make my life easier and Google Firefox Facebook widget not showing up. The very first result points to the built-in content blocker as the source of the issue. I open settings, set mine from standard to strict, reload the website, and boom. The Facebook plugin has, indeed, disappeared. I sent another email to explain this problem. Now waiting to hear back before I add Savior of Facebook plugins to my LinkedIn.